All right. Thank you for joining my Zoom chat, everyone. If you wouldn't mind, just please state your name for me.
Brianna?
Justin.
Thank you, Brianna and Justin.
Sean?
Thank you, Sean and Nancy.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Kayla?
Oh, thanks, Dayla. Appreciate it. All right. All right, and I'll begin right now. Over the years, video games have become an increasingly popular choice of entertainment. Video games are now played by all age groups, from children to adolescents, that indulge in various forms of gameplay. Popularity in adverse games have also grown to the extent of normalizing games such as Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, which in both cases, the objective is to carry out gruesome acts of violence. The repetition of playing these games alters our sense of morality. Negative actions are developed, such as terrorizing outbursts, through observational learning from the exposure of violent video games. Cruel video games are a big problem within the United States. They induce players into committing acts of violence. In the article, Nailing the Coffin Shut on the Doubts That Violent Video Games Cause Aggression, Huseman states that observational learning is mimicked through actions of what children and adolescents see. In turn, they acquire complicated scripts of behavior, beliefs about the world, and moral precepts about how to behave. Socialization can be defined as the process of learning to behave in a way that is acceptable by society. Video games have become important socializers that are being used as tools to mix socially with others. It is important to note that not all video games are recognized as bad or a violent activity that causes aggression. For example, the article, Violent Video Games Prime Both Negative and Positive Cognitions, both characterizes playing all types of video games as a joyful activity, a motivational driver for learning, and a promoter for mental health. Furthermore, the negative effects of violent video games have been exaggerated by prominent members of the scientific community, such that the potential positive effects and outcomes are obstructed as an educational tool and ignored. Although there may be positive effects to the violent video game play, negative effects far outweigh them. The content of video games, in addition to desensitization to violence, are two causes that increase aggression from playing brutal games. In the article, The Role of Violent Video Game Content in Adolescent Development, Olson reveals that researchers, clinicians, and policymakers have expressed concerns that the violence children see in these games could carry over into the real world as aggressive behavior or thoughts. Exposure to unfavorable content repeatedly causes the blurring of players' perception of the boundaries between fantasy and reality. In the article, The Effect of Video Game Violence on Psychological Desensitization to Real-Life Violence, Carnegie declares desensitization as a reduction in emotion-related physiological reactivity to real violence. The effect of such a process causes negative changes to emotional responses, becoming susceptible to combative behavior. The elimination of reduction of natural or acquired reactivity or sensitivity to an external stimulus over time. What is the resolution to decrease violence, you might ask? Parental mediation and oversight are two ways to prevent children from playing violent video games. It's up to the parents to monitor what kids are playing. Games are increasingly becoming violent, slowly gaining popularity, and becoming the new norm. Lastly, we must hold the media accountable for normalizing violent video games for children and adolescents. The dangers of playing violent games not only affect the children, but everyone around them. Now is the time to be more vigilant than ever. Let's band together and play our part, making this world safer for the future generations to come. Thank you, everyone.